Good morning, SCOE staff. This is Joe Linehan, AT specialist, and today we're going to talk about Boardmaker Studio, and I'm going to show you some of its cool features and how you can use it in your classroom. So let's get started. So Boardmaker Studio is a program that you can use to produce visuals for your students, such as visual schedules or picture exchange. You can edit the symbols to make them contrasting, and you can even create personalized schedules for your classroom. So here we have Boardmaker Studio. After you download it, this is what it's going to look like on the left. You will have whatever is available on your computer itself, and then an area here to open your files if you have saved something on your computer or on your drive. But today we are going to create a new Boardmaker page, or project as they call it in Studio. I'm going to click new. When you get that open, it'll bring you to this window. And on the left, we have a bunch of templates that you can start with, or you could just start with a blank template, which is most likely what you will do. But there are some other options. You can create books from already made templates. At one point, Boardmaker Studio tried to make it an interactive program where you can manipulate the buttons online. But for the purposes of this video, and probably for the purposes of your students and your classroom, we're just going to work with the print folders. So for example, under books, presentation, and print, we have a wide variety of templates that you could start with. For example, this one looks like we have a picture on the right, text on the left. This one has the picture on the bottom and the text on the top. Here's a comment board that might be specific to something you're reading in class. You can create communication and participation. Let's look at this one. These are choice boards, which is, we have 9-button choice board grid, 8-button, 6, etc. We have finger spelling board to practice the QWERTY keyboard. There are matching games under the print folder that you could create. We have graphic organizers. Those are on screen, so we don't need to worry about that. The visual schedules and sequencing, this one is really helpful for our classroom teachers out there. You can create horizontal schedules. For example, this one, where you have all the things on the top row to do, and assuming you finish them, you slide it down or put it into the finish row here. This one's a little bit longer. And then we also have vertical visual schedules and sequences. So something like this might be, we have the time of day, the button with the picture, and then this looks like a checkbox for the student to complete when they're done. So, and then we also have device overlays. These are associated with language systems, but Boardmaker Studio is pretty old, so a lot of these aren't existent anymore. So if you do need an overlay for your language system, please reach out to your SLP, and we can figure out how to make that with some other software. Anyway, but for today's purpose, we're going to go to the blank page. Once you're here, you can click create down at the bottom, and here we have our page. Now, when you first open Studio, you're not going to get this ruler. So what I'm going to recommend you doing is going to File and Setup and Options. And then at the bottom where you see, at the top where it says Interface, you're going to make sure that the Show Rulers box is ticked, and that will give you this nice ruler on the x-axis and on the y-axis. You might also want to tick snap to grid, so that your buttons, when you're pulling them, will snap to certain fixed distances. And some people like to show the grid, which are little dots. I'll show you what it looks like. I see these little dots on it now. You can see, you can zoom in, but I find that pretty distracting. So I'm gonna go in and turn that off. While we're in here, I did want to show you under symbols and language some of the options. These are the symbol libraries that are used when you're searching for symbols on Boardmaker Studio. There's a whole lot of them. You're most likely going to find at least one symbol for the word that you're looking for. Another important aspect is the symbol presentation order. We have a few different types of symbols. High contrast might be for all you vision teachers out there. Make it the symbols in high contrast library have high contrast and really they really pop. And I'll show you how to customize that on a button in a little bit. TCS is the generic symbol set that Boardmaker uses. You can include sign language pictures. Infant team, that might be helpful for you. Some other versions of symbol styles. But for this purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to include high contrast at the top to show you what that looks like. You can also change the skin tone of your symbols, which might be helpful for some of you. And the age, if you're just, for example, in a transition setting where your students are over 18, defaulting to an adult symbol might be helpful. You can use color symbols, or you can use black and white symbols as well. And you can choose different languages in Boardmaker Studio. So for example, if you have a Spanish speaking student, you can go down to Spanish and then search in Spanish to come up with the appropriate word, and that will be assigned to your symbol. I'm going to go back to English, and we are going to get going here. So let's talk about some of the options we have here, specifically those buttons that we'd use or more likely to use at SCOE. We have this egghead, quintessential Boardmaker guy. This is how you select symbols. I'll show you how to use that in a little bit. We have the select tool. That's how you select buttons on the page. This is the button tool. This is how you make buttons or symbols, buttons, cards, like squares. You'll see what I mean. And then we have the freeform picture, not really used very much. Could draw something. What is that? I don't even know. You could draw a button shape if you would like. I'm going to delete that though. Delete. We have the spray tool. This is the button tool, by the way. Spray tool is how we make multiples of the same picture. And we have a line tool for making lines. And we have the label tool, which might be helpful if you're making a board itself. You can type it in. It's like, oops. I'm gonna click in here. I'll go over here to properties, and under content, I'm gonna write daily schedule, put it in the middle. I'm gonna make it bold. I'm gonna make it huge, and press OK. And then I'm gonna need to make that like that, so that if you were making a board, you could give it a title. Excuse me. So let's get into it now. I'm going to first show you how to make a simple button. I'm going to go up to our button tool. There are a few options here. We don't usually mess with the word predictor, the target, or the hotspot, but you're going to live 99.7% of the time in the button option. You might create a group, which is when you're adding multiple symbols to one button. But like I said, the majority of your creations will be using the button. So we're going to do that. I'm going to click and drag in a diagonal motion to create a button. And I'm looking at my ruler at the top. And I'm going to line it up best I can. And I'm going to make a 5-inch by 4-inch button. Yeah, and I'm going to pull it down so I can see the whole thing. So that's your first step. I want to show you something here. We know that the button is selected because there's a red outline around it. If you click out of it, now the page is selected. And we're looking to modify this button itself, not the page. And if you notice on the right, our properties window changes. If I'm on the page, it looks a lot different than when I'm on the button. So when you're modifying your button and you don't see some of these options, it could be because you are selected on the page. So let's go back to the button and go through some of these options. I'm just going to show you the ones you're going to use. The content, this is where you can do a lot of your creations. So I'm going to click on this symbol here and I'm going to search ball. When I search ball, I get a lot of different options. I remember when I chose a hierarchy of symbols, there was contrast, not the contrasting picture for ball. And then I chose sign language. And this is the sign language for ball. But let's go with, I like these kids playing here. Let's do this ball, because it's got some action. I'm going to click OK. When I do that, it shows up in here. But I noticed that there's no words down here describing the photo. Let me show you one easier way to populate your cell. So I'm going to right click this, clear my contents, delete everything in the inside. Go back to that symbol guy and I'm going to type the same thing in ball. Let's see if I can find it here. Here they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click that. And when I did that, I populated the button with this action symbol of 2 students playing ball, and it included the word ball at the bottom. I would recommend you using that method to populate your buttons. And now that we have that, let's go back to our properties. So let's go through some of these options. This is the layout. This is how you want, where you want the text to be. You could have it on the top, where ball's on the top. You could have it on the bottom, which is the default. You could have no text. You could have it on the right or the left, or you could just have text. For the reasons of this example, I'm just going to use the default. And now I'm going to play with the font. So I'm going to go down here to the font. We have Tahoma, and I'm going to put in Arial Black. I'm going to make it 48. And I'm going to, it's already pretty bold. I'm going to underline it. And I'm going to change it to red. Now I'm liking that there. The next thing I want to do is go to style. Now, sometimes if you created symbols before, these symbols, the pictures themselves can be pretty sharp. So what I want to do is bevel these edges or round them. So I'm going to click on this style and I'm going to go down to the object styles. If you choose theme styles, it's going to change any other settings you have on the button. I would recommend using your object styles if you want to round your picture or change its shape. And I'm going to go to this rounded button here. So that adjusted the corners. And then next, I'm going to go down to Style Override. Style Override has some important features. One thing you might be interested in doing is adding some contrasting background. Say your student has vision impairment. We're going to go to this fill tool, and I'm going to choose yellow. When I do that, makes the whole background yellow. But look at that ball. I don't like that ball being yellow on yellow. So we're going to go in and change that in a minute. Well, let's go back. The other thing I want to do is to change the border thickness. So that's also under Style Override. All the way down here to thickness, and then you're going to slide your cursor over, and I'm going to go 8, and that's going to get it really nice and bold. If you wanted, you could also change the style of the border, maybe make it a dash, or make it a dash dot. Yeah, let's keep that just for fun. Okay. You weren't going to change any of the other features of this button and any of the other property options 99.7% of the time. So we're just going to leave it like that. And now I'm going to show you how to edit this symbol itself. So I want to go in here and I want to change that ball. I don't like how the yellow is on the yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my button is selected, which it is. I'm going to go in and I'm going to right click it and edit in symbol editor. When you do that, it'll pull up the symbol itself and another window. Down here in the bottom, you have some zooming ability as well. So if you're really trying to get in there to edit it, you might want to use that zoom tool. In the symbol editor, you can draw. If I wanted to make it all black, I could fill it in there. Oops. I'm going to undo that. See this little arrow at the top? There it goes. What you're most likely going to do in your symbol editor is you want to add some contrast, is you're going to use the fill tool. So remember that the background is yellow and this ball is yellow. So I'm going to change it to blue. Go in here, find my blue, and add blue to both sides. And then I'm going to go in the stripe, and I'm going to make that stripe red. Now that's looking good. But I noticed that there's a few little pieces in here, so I'm going to go even farther in, and let's see if I can just draw that blue in there. I'm going to change it to a teeny tiny. Let's see, that might not look great. Let's go zoom out, see how that looks. Oh, that'll work. That'll work for our ball. You can barely tell when it's way out here. And then another thing you can do in the symbol editor is erase. So let's say you like this picture, but you don't like these little lines. You can erase them. Once it's there, now there's a few other options, which I'm not going to save today, but you can rotate it, flip it, rotate, whoop, whoop, hold it upside down. And we're going to flip. You can also change the filters. This is an easier way to get black and white. Maybe you want to create a symbol that the kids can color. We also have some inverse symbols. That's helpful for your kids visually. Some sepia tones. I'm just going to go back to the color. Now, finally, when you're done and you like what you have, you're going to click Save as a New Symbol. And now that symbol is going to be within your search. So if I go in here and I type ball again, I'm going to see my symbol. There it is, my edited ball. That's a really good way to save customized symbols. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to make 2 of these symbols because my students, they always lose things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my spray tool. I'm going to make sure my symbol is selected. And I'm going to click down and I'm going to drag it to the right. And voila, now I have 2. Next thing I'm going to do is I think these are too close. So I'm going to go into my key on my keyboard and select the arrow to the right over and over again. That's an easy way for you to nudge your picture around rather than using your mouse. It'll keep it on the same line and it'll keep it even with the picture on the left as well. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to select multiple symbols at the same time. So let's say I don't really like this border. I'm going to change it back to solid. So I'm going to click off on the page here and I'm going to hold and drag all the way across what I need. When I select both of these, you'll see that the red border now is around both of them. Now I can go into the properties on the right. Notice it says 2. I'm going to go into style override and I'm going to go to my border style and I'm going to say I want it solid. Now they're both changed. And I want to change the font. I'm going to go up to font. And I'm like, oh, I don't really like this Arial black. I'm just going to go to a regular Arial. See how they both changed. Take the underline off. Switch it back to black. This is a great way to edit multiple buttons. Change the background to blue. Oh, that's too much. Let's go. So that is how you make multiple buttons with the spray. This is how we resize buttons. You can click it and find that little corner, click and drag down, bring this one over, click and drag down. But you know what? I really want it in the same size. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to delete this one and we're going to go back and spray. Let's make 3. But this time we're making an activity board of outside choices for the student to play on the playground. So what are some other things that we use on the playground? We play balls. What about if there's a play structure? Let's see if we can add that. I'm going to go up to my symbols here and search play structure. Enter. We have a lot of choices here. We have this one with the swing and the monkey bars. We have seesaw. We have the symbol for play. It's not really getting at what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a different phrase. Play ground. This is that contrasted version of playground here. We're getting a little bit closer here. This is the one I like. That looks like the playground at my school. I'm going to click, hold, and drag onto the button that I want. You'll notice it has arrows in the corner and in the middle now, as if to suggest, or as if to ask, you want to change this one? Now I'm going to release my hold. And when you do that, it's going to prompt you. It says, hey, this button already has a picture on it. What do you want to do? Do you want to add the play structure to the kids playing ball? Do you want to replace the kids playing ball? Or do you want to cancel? Was that a mistake? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace. So I replaced it. But what you notice is that play structure is looking pretty small and playground is a very big word. And that's because of the font that we chose and the size. So we're going to go back to our properties of our button, make sure we're selected. So it says button. If you're on the page, it's not going to do anything. And I'm going to go to font size. I'm going to bring it down to 22. I like that better. Now we see more of the play structure. But look at that background. It's yellow on yellow. I just don't like it. So what I'm going to do is edit in my symbol editor. We're going to go in here and I'm going to see if I can fill these 2 boxes. Anything that's yellow, I'm gonna make it blue. Let's see if that works. I'm gonna go to my blue. I'm gonna try to fill this negative space. Hope that worked just fine. You wanna make sure that the black bottom of the paint that's being spilled, let me zoom in, is the thing that's hitting the area that you want. You see the black bottom. All these areas that are yellow with blue. And now let's zoom out. Oh, that looks much better. I'm going to save it as a new symbol. And there you go. Now we have blue tops. Now let's think about, so we have ball, playing ball outside on the playground, or playing ball during recess, going on the playground during recess. How about, oh, you know, we have a tether ball court. So let's try select tether ball. Oh, here is the one symbol they have for tether ball, and that'll work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this symbol over to this third one. And I'm going to say, play. Again, that font is rather large. I'm going to go down to 22, much better. So now we have ball, playground, and tether ball. Something else that I want to select for the outside playground is bikes. Our kids have lots of bike choices. But I need a specific picture. I need an adapted bike. So let's see if our symbols have an adapted bike. Now first, I need to make another box. So I'm going to spray this one down here. This is where we're going to put our adapted bike. I'm going to type in bike. And there are lots of bikes. There's looks like a fat bike for the sand. We have a bell for a bike, like a road bike, treadmill, or a stationary bike. But I'm not seeing the specific bike I need. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go onto the internet and we are going to find it. I'm going to go down here to my Chrome browser, open that up. Here we are. I'm going to type in adapted bike. When I do that on Google, I'm going to go up to the images. Now, here are all pictures of some of the bikes that we use. And I think that I like this one. This was the one that looks like our adapted bike. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this picture and I'm going to save it. I'm going to save the image. And we are going to put this in. Now I'm pretty organized with this. I have Boardmaker files here. Oops, I already see a problem. I'm going to just show you first though. I had all my pictures in the Boardmaker files. But what I'm noticing is this type of file. It's a web file. And I know that Boardmaker does not read web files. Boardmaker will, and so I'm going to cancel that. I'm looking for a JPEG. Here we are. This one is a JPEG. So I'm going to type this. I'm going to label this adapted bike. It's in my Boardmaker files pictures folder. And I'm going to save it. Now I downloaded it onto my screen. There's two ways you can add it. First way is you can grab your download. Now I'm holding it and I'm going to hold it while I'm in Boardmaker. Oops, that's not going to work. What we're going to do is we're going to make this screen a little bit small. There we go. And I'm going to grab it and I'm going to put it right in there. There it is. Now I have my adapted bike. Minimize that and see if we can edit this symbol. this is going to be tricky because now we're not dealing with the line drawing or the raster file. We're dealing with the pixels, and you can see that it's pretty fuzzy already. So let's try to add some yellow to it. See what happens. Oh, that's not great. I don't know if this is going to work, guys. I think what we might need to do is, well, two things. You can either leave it white as it is, or you can come in here and try to draw all these little areas in yellow, which can take a very long time. I don't like that. I think I'm just going to keep it as it is. So to reiterate, when you're importing pictures that are, it can be a lot more difficult to edit the symbol itself versus using the line drawings that are already included in the program, because we're dealing with pixels versus lines. But either way, let's change what it says. It's not a ball, it's an adapted bike. I know that's going to be too big. So there it is. Well, that's as good as we can get, I'm afraid. Boardmaker Studio is a little lacking when it comes to importing photos. So there is another way to import your photo. And how you're going to do it, let's find another picture. So we have adapted bikes, we have playgrounds, we play with balls, how about a hula hoop? So I'm going to go back to my Google images, and I'm going to look up hula hoop under images. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see. We have all hula hoops, but I'm going to go into the Google Images Tools, and I just want the clip art version of hula hoop. And I like these two kids here. She's kind of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the image as, it's a JPEG, so we're in good shape, and call it hula hoop. And then I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go into my file explorer. Put it over here. See? Get smaller. And I'm going to go into Drive. We have Boardmaker files, our pictures, and here is our hula hoop girl. I'm going to drag and drop her in. Oh, look at that. Let's see if we can crop her. I don't like this black part on the bottom here. I'm going to see if we can select this little guy down here. Oh, no. Going to erase this part. What is that going to look like? And see what happens if we fail. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, it did. Save it, and there it goes. That's one way to make something, a bar, like a colored bar on the bottom, go away. So you erase and then fill the erased piece with the same color as the rest of the background. Now we need to change it because it's not playground. Enter. Again, if you try to go in, I'm gonna go back to my select tool. Try to go in and edit this symbol. Now this one is clip art, so it might be better, but let's see. A little better. Let's just see how that. I'm gonna change this bottom to like, well, let's change it to like a gray. Save it. And that's a little bit better. I kind of like that. But she's a little small, so we're gonna so here we're gonna do go down to miscellaneous here, and I'm going to put no, that's gonna skew it. Maintain aspect. I'm gonna do fill. Not liking that either. So let me show you the workaround. This is the workaround for adjusting the icon inside of your button. What you have to do is you have to add another picture to your button. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to pick this bike here, and I'm going to drag this bike into the same picture. And instead of hitting replace, I'm going to select add to. Now I can select either one. So I'm going to delete this bike because I don't need it, but I would like this person, and I'm going to stretch her out. Now it's much bigger. So that's your workaround. Again, let's try it again. I'm going to add to picture. Delete this girl this time. Make this helmet bigger. And that is your easiest way to manipulate a single picture in your button, is to add another one. I know it's kind of finicky. Boardmaker Studio can be like that sometimes. And I'm just gonna change that concept. Okay. Center this. All right. Now I'm gonna add a label to this. I'm gonna bring this down to the bottom. Up here under the label content, we're gonna write outside activities and make it Arial, and make it big, 60. It's not showing because it's not there. We're gonna put this in the middle. There it is. And now we're gonna move it. And let's just, this just changes because that's not really working for me. Look, they even have these ones. There's our little lady. I'm just gonna do hula hoop. I'm gonna add one more because I like the things to be even. It's going to be, how about what if we play outside? Bowling. How about this? I'm gonna put bowling. Let's see. Boom. These are the 6 things we do outside, for the choices the students have. I'm going to center it, so I'm going to select all these images. I'm going to use my little arrow and hold it down so that it's in the middle. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make a border. I'm going to make another button here, and it's going to go, what's happening? Let me show you guys. I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to send it to the back. Now that's our border. And I'm going to make that red. Boom. And let's give it black. Thickness 8. There we go. And that is how you make a choice board. How about it? So if any of you have any other questions about creating symbols on Boardmaker, please feel free to reach out. You can reach me on my email. It's jlinehan, L-I-N as in Nancy, E-H-A-N @scoe.net. That's probably the easiest way to get my attention. And if you need me to come out and do an individual or a small group tutorial with you to help you, by all means, reach out. The last thing before I leave you today is I want to show you some of the organizational structure of this page. Boardmaker is, like I mentioned, you created a project, and on the bottom left here is the project tab. And you'll see here, we're on page 1. It doesn't reflect it here in this little symbol, but this is the first page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. I right-clicked on it, and I'm going to rename it outside activities. And there it is. But let's say I want to make another one with inside activities. So I'm going to right-click it, and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to right-click it, and I'm going to paste it. And now when you see I pasted it, the first one updated. But I'm going to rename this one inside activities. So now we have 2 pages in our project. When you want to select one, you double click on it. Now I'm in the inside pages. Inside activities. So I'm going to add inside activities. There we go. So we have outside activities, inside activities. If some of you also, if you don't like this way of navigating, you can go to the bottom. It's like Excel. We have our sheets here of all of our things. And when you are saving, you can save this specific page that you're on. You can save all the pages, and the same goes for print. You could print the page that you're on, or you can print the entire project. Just wanted to mention that before I go. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out through email, and I will see you soon. Take care.